Good afternoon, everybody. This is John here for another one of our webinars. This is webinar, I guess this is webinar either 29 or 30. I lose track of them. I think we've had 29, so I guess this is officially the 30th one. So happy to have you back here again. And I've got a couple panelists with me today. One that isn't with us yet, that will be with us, I hope, momentarily, and I will introduce the other panelist in just a minute. So glad to have you here. We're going to go about an hour or so, and I hope not much longer than that. But today, of course, we're talking about some of the best stuff, at least what we think is some of the best stuff we've gone over the past webinars from the last 15, 16 months, and I think that we've got some great stuff to reiterate to everyone as we're closing down on the big season here. And so just as we always do, I put in a couple thoughts for you to think about, and I think this is very true for me. Whatever I know about this business is because I've stood on the shoulders of a lot of people that knew how to do it, people like one of my guest speakers that's going to be on here today. And it's true that we do learn from our failures more than our triumphs. And if that's the case for me, if I'm learning from my failures, I should be an incredibly intelligent person. But anyway, you know how these things go. We have some housekeeping notes here. The audio transmission is one way. You can ask questions via the comment box there. And I'm trying to, there, let's get this out of the way. Okay. Yeah, with the comment box, we'd like you to ask questions, make your comments, whatever you'd like to have us respond to. There'll be a brief Q&A, but don't even wait to the end. Make sure you ask your comments or questions as we're going through. And if you need to reconnect, just go through the webinar invite number. And of course, this series has been brought to you by IST Magazine, the Sun is Life Certification and Training Program, and our company, the Power Group Companies. And we're all glad to have you here today. And also I'd like to introduce the tech wizard. And thank God he was on this call today, because for some reason we couldn't seem to get this thing to where I couldn't get my access to go to work at all. So David, thank you for saving my life here. I was thinking about slashing my wrist there for a minute because I couldn't get in. It isn't quite that bad, but anyway. And also,
my pleasure to help.
Oh yes, always, and very nice to have you on. So let's tell you a little bit about what's happened with this webinar series here, and then I'm going to introduce a couple panelists. But for those of you that have been fans and have supported us in this webinar series since February of 2013, we have had 29 webinars over 16 months, more than 4,000 registered salon owners and managers, representing more than 8,000 salons. That's wonderful support that you folks have given us for the webinars. That means that we have more than 34 hours of recorded education and guidance. The webinars are only supposed to be an hour, but as you know, I have a big mouth, and some of my guest speakers, we all want to put in some information to help you with your salon. So there's more than 34 hours of recorded education and guidance, and it's resulted, by the way, in more than 13,000 webinar replay visits to my website, johnrfr.com, and sunislife.com. So that's been really cool over the last 16 months. Now, the last webinar for this season will be June the 25th, and I say the last because, folks, I got to tell you, I have to take a break for a couple months. I've got to go back to spending more time with the client base that we have. And more importantly, my wife's had a few health issues, so we're going to take the summer off and work with my clients, getting them ready for the fall, but also helping my wife as I should. Now, I don't know if he is with us, but one of our guest panelists is David McFarland. David, are you with us yet? I'm not hearing him speak in, so David is in sales, with executive sales with Performance Brands, and I think you probably all know the kinds of lotions and materials that they put out, but maybe David will join us here in a little bit. Always love to have David on. He's a great color commentator, if you will, very colorful individual, puts on great presentations, as far as selling lotions. So let me introduce the other speaker that we have, the guest speaker that we have today. And I love this one because I have, Brad, are you there, sir?
I'm here, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Brad is the owner of Pacific Tanning in Rocky Point, New York. Now, I really like Brad's style. When we talk a little later on about Facebook and some of the other things that you do, if you look at his Facebook, what you see there in that picture, that is very typical of Brad. He's a very good presenter. I mean, I love the picture, Brad. I got to tell you, it is just.
Thank you.
I mean, you know what it does, really, and I don't mean this as a compliment. I mean this as a statement of fact, is that I think what we forget sometimes in this business, to some extent, we are in kind of the entertainment business. People come in, spend their money. I mean, just think about what they do. People spend their money to come into our establishments and take their clothes off. I mean, so we have to have something that is endearing to them. We have to show that we're not selling kitty litter here. And I'll tell you what, I look at this guy in the picture here and thinking, if I was a tanner, I would definitely buy from him. So it's very Hollywood, Brad, and it looks great. It really. I wish more people would get more Hollywood in running their businesses. So, and plus the fact you gave me a really nice compliment, so we put that up there too. A little self-promotion there. Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Now, Brad, just so we get it set up, and the same thing for Mr. McFarland if he comes on the phone here. As I go through this stuff about what we've talked over this last almost 16 months, I want you to feel free, Brad, just, hey, John, let me interrupt you for a second. Let me comment on what you just said, because believe me, these people on here are probably tired of listening to me. I get tired of I hate listening to me. So just throw in your 2 cents, because you may have ways of doing things that are different from what we've discussed over the last 29 webinars, and that's what people are on here for, is to find best practices. So
I will do, for sure, definitely.
And one thing about you, Brad, I know you're not shy, so I know you'll jump in.
No problem.
We have a variety of topics here that we've covered over these last 29 webinars, and I'm just going to start, and it's not starting at any particular place that has got any kind of a logical order to it, but I'm going to start with leadership just because we've talked about it before, and there's no question about it that great salons can't offset bad leadership. I don't know how many salons, Brad, that you see on a time-to-time basis, but I got to tell you, and I know you know this, is that you can have the most beautiful salon in the world, but if you have somebody that's running it, whether it's the manager or the owner or a district manager for a chain, and they just do not know how to lead people, you're not going to be successful, because all the great equipment and lotions in the world is not going to offset bad leadership. And I'm going to show an example here, and I don't know, Brad, if you were on the webinar when we showed this one before. This is a case study. The name of the salon is not Exotic Tan. That's just a pseudonym that we picked for it, because obviously we don't want to be talking about and have someone embarrassed. But this was an example of very poor hiring and managing costs. So this gentleman had in a I believe it's over 1 year. Over 1 year in 2 salons, he had 54. And I know you're probably not going to believe this, Brad, but with what I do, mine is kind of like a Jerry Springer existence. So I hear this stuff all the time. So anyway, over 1 year in his 2 salons, 54 terminated employees. And so what we did is I did a little cost analysis for him to try to help him kind of see the light. And the average terminated employee worked 26 work shifts, or 5 hours per shift over 13 weeks. In other words, the average employee, Brad, worked for this guy for only 13 weeks. I know it sounds unbelievable, but there were times I was on calls with him, and he hired a manager the day before who quit the day that we were talking. Or you had consultants that worked there for 2 weeks. And then he did have a couple that were there longer. Well, actually, he had one that was there longer, and I'll tell you why she was there longer. I'm sure you can probably guess. But anyway, so 13-week average. And so when you start to do the math on it, with all of these people leaving, and some of them maybe needed to be terminated, but a lot of them was just because it was bad leadership on this gentleman's part. But you start to add it up, and it added up that per person that left in 13 weeks, he had spent about a little over $1,000 apiece. And you do the roll-up, look at this, over $57,000. I know. Wait, Brad, was that?
Wow. Yeah. Did you know that it was it the owner or a manager that operated the hiring and firing?
It was the owner. Yeah. He just really bad news. Really, really bad news. And so here's some things that, we'll give you a little rundown on him since we're talking about leadership. His name is not Rick, but we'll call him Rick. And you notice I left that blank there. You can rhyme it with Rick with any. Wait, there's a few that you could put in there, you know. This is true about Rick. Rick trusts no one. I mean, he is a very cynical individual, and it's not that he just doesn't trust them, but he also lets them know that he doesn't trust any of them, which is a little bizarre, but that's the case he is. Now, this one, Brad, is this you're going to really think this is crazy. But ironically, he pulls cash for his own personal use from the salon drawers without putting no good. The managers, plus he gives free tans to all of his lady friends.
No good. My sister buys lotions. That's what this business is about, making money. And you got to. My sister, she works for us, and she has to buy lotions. You know, nothing's free.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, that's a good comment that you just made, Brad. It really is, because you want to set up with employees understanding that nothing is free, and it doesn't matter if you're the owner or you're the owner's sister. Because once you start to do that, where you say, well, I'm the owner, I can have anything, you start to devalue the value of the product or the service. And after a while, people will say, well, you know, if Brad's sister can take that lotion, why can't I?
Right.
It's crazy. But, yeah, so this is some of these issues this guy has. He openly recruits employees to spy on others.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's setting up for failure.
Brad, I'm telling you, I wish that a lot of the people on this call could eavesdrop on some of these conversations that I have. There's sometimes I'm listening to these people, and I know my mouth is hanging. Even after 24 years of this, my mouth's hanging open, and all I want to say, and I hate to be crude, but I want to say, no shit. I can't believe that they're telling me this, but I apologize for that crude remark there. He's often guilty of inappropriate comments to both female and male employees, and he has had, as you can guess, lots of legal issues. I wouldn't even start to alphabetize them, how many legal issues he's had. He berates his employees in front of other workers and customers, and man, if you want to destroy a relationship with employees, that's about as poor a leadership as you can possibly get. So let's talk Rick's leadership disasters list, we call it. He sets a terrible example of his own personal dishonesty. I mean, you go and you take money out of the drawer. First of all, Brad, can you imagine being a manager working for one of his salons, and this guy will actually turn around and give them static sometimes because their drawer is short. Now, they don't know specifically that the drawer is short because Rick took money out of it, but they know that Rick occasionally does that without putting a note in there. So, it's crazy. And I'll tell you, Brad, what I've gotten from what I see from your business, a successful business like yours, is that you're not only a good promoter, but I think your employees see an integrity from you that sets an example. They know that you have respect for company assets, as do they.
Sure, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Just as bad, he sets up an expectation of dishonesty. I mean, by telling his employees that he doesn't trust anybody, expectations are terrible that way. But I'll tell you what, he owns 7 cars that you've ever seen, and he's paid big bucks for it. But for the couple employees that have been there for a long time, he hasn't given them a raise in 4 years.
That's horrible.
It is. So what he's lost, beside the business that his employees probably turn away because of their bad attitudes, is he's lost the trust. And I tell you, there's nothing worse as a leader. If you lose the trust of your employees, you're SOL. Because
yeah, you're done. You're finished.
Yeah, you're finished. You're absolutely finished. Reprimand should always be done in private, and you don't want to humiliate your employees. And I guess there's one other thing too I did not tell you about Rick, is that Rick has a special relationship, we'll call it, with one of his longtime employees. So, I mean, think about this, Brad. Is there anything I've described to you about Rick so far? Is there anything I've left out?
Worse? I mean, I've heard it seen worse, but in my company, no. I mean, even the words reprimanding your staff, I don't even call them my employees. They're not my employees. They're my team.
Yeah.
That's one of the words I kind of take out. The employees, not really what we use. I mean, obviously, if I have to, sure, but they're a team, and I'm not a boss. I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. Leadership and a leader, yes, but I'm more of a coach and a trainer and a teacher, so my team can learn the tools that I can give, and then they could see me in action, and then as well as my managers, and then down the line you have a team that could produce and do the same thing you're doing. It's replication, but and knowing the faults that they can hopefully figure out and find, and then not reprimanding, but showing them, okay, that was the wrong way, this is the correct way, and then why it's correct. Well, I think a lot of times that's so important, to make sure they understand why it has to be done this way.
That's excellent, because let me just tell you, I've taught leadership principles at the college and at the business level, and that what you just said is incredibly important, and I hope that people made notes from it, because really one of the best ways for you to bond yourself with your employees is to be a teacher. I mean, what employees want, what they really want, and the research shows what they want, is they want to work with someone who will help them do what they are able to do or what they're capable of doing. And if you spend all your time berating them, they're just not going to listen to you. And what you're doing is very, very important, because developing employees, I mean, I don't know what your average tenure is of your employees or how often you have turnover, but I got to guess, I'm sure your turnover is on the complete opposite end from this guy that we're talking about.
I've had employees from 3.5 to 5 years, work for me. Now they're, doing their nursing jobs and families. And I've had a few, you're always going to get, I think it's not that you want to hire that bad seed, but when you do, you learn from it. And then you move forward and know, okay, those are the characteristics you don't want in your salon, and it's almost you gotta represent the brand of your company. I'm trying to have my team represent the brand of my Pacific Tanning Company in the salon as well as out of the salon. That's one thing big I'm working on, that I want to make sure that they understand that if they want more commission, more dollars, and make more money, they sell more, but it also has to be done outside the salon when it's promoting, advertising, interacting with guests, and being an advocate of tanning in general.
Yeah, and you said something very powerful there. You're talking about branding. And I'll tell you where branding makes a big difference too, not only from the marketing point of view, but everything that you're talking about where you create your brand. I'll use another word, and that is that your brand creates a reputation in the market. I have another salon client out west. We can't get anybody to answer an ad anymore, whether it's Craigslist, Career Builder, anything that we go on. And it's because he's really wiped out the market. I mean, there's people that have come to work for him, the experience has been so bad that nobody will respond to the ads anymore. I mean, he's got a reputation in the market of being someone you absolutely don't want to work for. See, and I would guess that, and that's opposite for you, well, because you're developing your brand. That brand not only develops the brand of you as a salon and as a service provider, but it also develops in the community that, hey, Pacific Tan is a place I want to work.
I have over 472 applications. And that's not a lie. I've actually counted that up 3 days ago. We consistently do every week. There's going to be interviews. We always accept applications. We hold interviews every week or every other week. And I just implemented a first is a one-on-one interview, and then the second interview is done with me, with the group that I think is the second tier of the interview, and then the third is basically a hire. Works well.
You know what I think I'm going to do here, Brad? I think I'm going to lay back and read a book and have you just run this webinar. The stuff you're sharing here is fantastic. It's absolutely, because one of the things, God, this is going to sound like a mutual admiration society here, but I love what you're saying, and I will tell everybody on this webinar, I did not know what Brad was going to say. I knew what his attitudes, and I know the way he runs his business, but I didn't know he was going to come up with this stuff. So, but this is great stuff, because when you say that you're constantly interviewing, see, this is one of the huge problems that we have in this business, is that most salons hire under the gun. They have no bench strength. They've got nobody waiting in the wings. And if it's said to me once in a week, it's said to me at least 10 times, Brad, where a salon owner will say, "No, we're not interviewing right now because we're fully staffed." Well, as we know, with the people that we hire in this industry, fully staffed could be half-staffed 10 days from now. You just never know. I mean, I've seen examples of people leaving salons, good people that you would have predicted. I'll give you an example, and I don't think you'd mind me telling you. South Beach Tanning down in Orlando and Tampa, Brian Hibbert, who is a fantastic operator, going to open up his 41st store in July, franchising and corporate stores. This guy is a great operator. He's a great guy to deal with, very, very smart guy. And he had somebody that was a regional manager for his stores for 8 years. 8 years, she meets somebody she falls in love with, she gives her 2 weeks' notice, and she's gone. And,
wow.
You would have thought after 8 years, this lady's going to be around forever. So I like what you said about where you're continually interviewing, because, the thing about it is, you never know when a gem is going to walk into an interview. Somebody that's a killer that, because some people will say, well, I may not have room in my payroll. If I had a killer walk in, I don't mean, a serial killer, but I mean, if I had someone that was really good, I think I'd find room for him on the payroll.
They call that diamond in the rough.
But you got it. Well, anyway, okay, so I'm going to move past here. I'm going to give you an example of a guy, Jim Todd, Rayz, and this is a real person, Rayz. He's got a couple salons in southern Kentucky, so I'm giving you the opposite of that Rick person. Jim is one of the most honest people I've ever met. He's very fair with his employees as far as raises, bonus. Nobody thinks there that, oh, well, they got a raise because they're a friend of Jim's. That's not the way. He lives by his word. You can trust what he tells you. He plays no favorites. He's just, he's very, very approachable. I've seen very few owners that you could go talk to Jim about anything. And what he does is he creates trust and initiative. When people trust you, because they trust you, Brad, they'll do things that you don't even ask them to do. They'll say, whether you're at a meeting, or they'll say, Brad, what do you think about doing this, or what do you think about doing that? They're thinking in terms of your benefit and the benefits of the salon. And that's what Jim is. Jim just does a fantastic job with them. And he's a natural salesman. He sells everyone. His customers, his employees, his vendors. He was a client of mine for consulting for, oh my gosh, 5 or 6 years, and he sold me. I mean, I dealt with this guy. I charged him very little, but I did it because, frankly, I liked him as a person. I liked him as a professional, and it made all the difference in the world. He's an excellent example. He likes to partner with people. He's a collaborator. And this is another thing, too, and it sounds like this happens with your store, too. He invests in relationships. He commits his time and his patience. And, investing in relationships, I've seen it for the people that have worked for me for now, 40, I've been managing people for 46 years. You have to invest in those employees. You've got to spend some time with them. Okay, nice guy. And what you said before, too, Brad, was very powerful. He tells them the why of the rules and the best practices, and that's really important. Okay, let's move on here, because I'm going to just move a little bit past Jim, because I want to make sure that we get to some of this other stuff, because Brad's got some great comments to make. So what performances are we trying to manage? Attitude. Anything can be done with the right attitude. and I don't know, Brad, if you've seen this. I'm sure you probably have, but you have somebody that you think might have the ability, but if they have the wrong attitude, it's really tough. I mean, well, by the time you get to hiring somebody, let's say this is a 22-year-old, their socialization process took place probably by the time they're 8 or 9 years old and formulated the kind of a person that they were. Now, there are some people that walk this planet that have got like a cloud over them. And if someone has a bad attitude, I know, Brad, I don't know about you, but when it comes to terminating employees, and in my position as consultant, I terminate employees all year long, and I'll put up with a lot. I mean, if somebody does something wrong, okay, that's one thing if they learn from it. But if somebody has a bad attitude, that's just one of the things that says you need to go work someplace else.
Yeah, I agree. I used to try to leave a second, third, and fourth chance, but and I don't like the whole firing process is not fun for me. I'm still kind of learning that, but at the same token, I kind of trained my supervisor, and she's been trained through management courses and stuff, and I try to leave it up to her a little bit now. But when you know there's a bad seed, you just gotta. That's one of the first things every expo I go to. One of the first things they say is go home and fire someone, because there's always somebody that can replace her better.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit advanced there, but I mean, it is one of the things that is true about our business is that we tend to hire too quickly and fire too slowly. But yeah. That's now again going back to this, attitude is it's hard to repair attitude, but one of the other to recognize people's efforts, because sometimes achievement is critical, but effort is really important as well. Somebody's making an effort, I'll give them more of that time, like you talked about, Brad. I want to see responsible, mature conduct. We, in this industry, we have a bad reputation that we need to correct, and the salons that do it are the ones that really win in the end, because these customers are saying, I'm investing my time and my money, and I want to go someplace where it's not a clubhouse. And so many of these salons I work with, I'll tell the owner, I says, eventually somebody's going to have to be an adult. We can't have people calling off on their shifts every 15 minutes. You can't have them on their Facebook all the time. You can't have them arguing with their boyfriend at the counter. So I put in there responsible, mature conduct, and that's what I look for also in interviews. And then, of course, we want to manage numbers. Numbers are incredibly important. Let's talk about some specific numbers, and just you just jump in whenever you want, Brad, but specific critical numbers for sales associates. If you're on the call, if there are sales associates on the call or managers on the call, a PTA or PSA, your per transaction average, is very, very important. It becomes a real good management tool to stack up your employees, because what will happen, and I'm sure you've heard this too, Brad, where an employee will say, well, I can't do as well as so-and-so. She has more hours than I do.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, exactly.
It doesn't matter. When you do, the averages, it just doesn't matter. You could work on a Monday, you could work on a Friday, and morning or night. In the end, when you take a month total, we do it almost every hour, and then weekly, daily, then weekly. But with our software does it consistently, and I'm on it all day long. But averages are just so important. It could actually tell you where you are in the industry itself, and then where your company is, and then where the individuals are within your company.
What software do you use?
I use Salon Touch.
Okay. Yeah, because the numbers, I mean, you'll have, and I'm sure you've heard this too, excuse me, employees will say, well, I work a lot of day shifts, and most of the time I'm just seeing EFT or members come in, and they've already bought their packages, and I can't sell them anything. And see, there's two sides to that. It is true that if you do get a lot of EFT people during the day, but you get them at night too, but if you do get a lot of EFT people during the day, usually during the day you don't have as big a crowd, or you don't have as many people lined up, and so the reverse on that is that you have more time with that person. And if that person has been tanning in a level 2 bed, the obvious question I always ask, are you getting as dark as you want? have you tried this bed over here? Try this level 3 with the facials and shoulders or whatever, because really what our goal is levels. And so the person that's working during the day has an advantage over the person that's working 4 to 7 on a Monday night, and you've got 6 people in line. So, I mean, it's like you said, Brad, it's kind of an equal playing field. There's different excuses or justifications you can make for other times, but at least it's a great start to manage what your people are doing, or take a look at them. EFT close rate, this is something we started with clients about 3 years ago, where we were taking EFTs sold per transaction of the individual employee, particularly during this peak season that we're getting done with, because it's a small number. It might be 0.025 or 0.03 or something like that, but it's still a number, and you can compare the effectiveness of the employee selling EFTs versus transactions. And again, what that does is it takes away the excuse, oh, I'm only getting people that have EFTs already or whatever. And I know one thing, and you probably see it too, Brad, when you start posting numbers, your employees start to pick up on that competitive thing, because frankly, anybody that wants to be in sales doesn't want to be on the bottom.
That is true.
Yeah. And of course, upgrade sales. We also do this as a transaction ratio, but more importantly, of course, is do they use those upgrades, sometimes a free upgrade to get them up to the next level. And of course, LPPA is important too. Out of curiosity, Brad, do you mind sharing with everybody what do you think LPPA has been, say, for the first 5 months of this year?
Well, we do lotion averages. I could say my lotion average and we do also not by well, I have numbers by transaction, but I also do per client. So even if a client comes in, whether it's a transaction or not, they're put on an average. They still can be sold something, is the way I look at it. We have 500 products in our store, whether it's lotions, aftercare, products. We have beach towels, sunglasses, eyewear. Something can be sold to somebody, whether they have a package or not. But my lotion, sales per person average individually, I'm going to say it's probably around $10, $12 individually, and then my average transaction is going to be around like 27 to 30 on transactions, and then
wow.
And then my average per client. With not transaction, this is just per client average. It's usually the industries, I hear it's around 9-ish, but we're around like 11 or 12 on a good month. Most of my employees, they're all around like 9. But then that dollar per client throughout the year, when you take that total revenue divided by how many clients you have, that's going to be around like our $89, $92.
Yeah. Okay. So your per customer average, your annual PCA is about $92.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that's
good.
the one of the other one of the salons. One year was 102. That was our highest so far.
Okay. 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 All right. Let me move on here, because just time is never our friend here, and I'm going to go through a couple other slides here, and you can go to the replay, by the way, which should be up later on today. And this is one of the things we talked about in the last webinars over the last year or so, some common ways salons end up in litigation. If you were on that webinar, it was called The Burning Issues of Employment Law, and it's the misunderstanding of the at-will doctrine and resultant wrongful termination charges. Now, most states, and I believe 42 of the 50 states are at will, that says that you can fire somebody at will for basically no reason at all. But I will tell you that you can also be sued at will. You don't win, the lawyer wins. Or if you do win, the lawyer wins. The lawyer always gets paid. So we want to stay away from anything that that messes around with. And I hope that you all have handbooks, and I'll talk about that in a second. So one of the other ways is asking the wrong questions during the interview. 2 weeks ago, I was on an interview with a client where the client was doing the interviewing at the time, and I was listening in, and the client asked the lady on the other end of the phone, her plans for having a family. Can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't ask somebody, and I know that her intention was good in so much as that she wanted to know the person was going to be full-time, but she didn't want to lose her for, being pregnant and having children and whatever. But that is absolutely verboten as far as asking. So this is what we do is, if you go on my website, there's a thing on there called the package where you can get, I think it's 42 different questions on there that you can use for your interviews, and you won't see a question on there about people's family planning. Now, another place where some salons get in trouble is exempt versus non-exempt manager status. Now, an exempt manager status means that you're paying somebody on a salary basis, and so you're having them work 45 to 48 hours during peak, something like that. But a lot of times what happens is, well, not a lot of times, but some salons will make someone a salaried employee who is not a manager. And so the state labor laws will tell you that there are certain indications of who truly is a manager and is exempt from being paid overtime. You have to be very careful with that, because if it's part of the Fair Labor Standards Act, and so if the Department of Labor in your state finds out that you're working people that are not managers, but you put them on salary so you can work them 50 or 55 hours a week and save on payroll, that becomes an issue. Company-sponsored employee parties. I just got to tell you, I've learned this the hard way. I learned it the hard way myself years ago. We had a company-sponsored employee party. This goes back, 25, 30 years ago. We were at a hotel. I'm not making this up, guys. I'm telling you, you'll get a kick out of this, Brad. I thought, we'll just serve, beer and wine. Just have beer and wine, and we had the party at this hotel in the pool area. So,
I know where this is going.
I know exactly where this is going. And it got so crazy that not only was everybody, bombed, because what had happened is when they found out we were only have beer and wine, some of them brought some harder stuff. Some folks brought some, let's call it some Tijuana grass clippings. And the next thing you know, Brad, I'm not kidding you, 3/4 of these people were naked in the pool.
Wow, no good.
Oh, yeah. So 2 days later, I had attorneys calling me. I had the women that were at the party, some of them, well, they were all over 18, but they had fathers and boyfriends and husbands calling me, and I was getting, as a matter of fact, I did get one death threat out of it. So, Christmas parties are terrific, but I strongly advise I would not serve liquor. It's just a good way to get in trouble, unless you have everybody.
I'm hearing some salons, this is something I've read and seen and advertised in print, wine down Wednesdays with wine.
Yeah.
Whiskey wine down Wednesdays with whiskey. Do not do it. It's just even a bad look on our industry. In the end, this industry already has eyes on it. There's no need to make it a focal point on something like that. That's just silly.
Brad, we were running J.K. America's salon for them out in West Hollywood. Largest salon I've ever had involvement with, 6,000 square feet, and had all Ergoline equipment. And what they did before we had my contract with them, they were having 2 sales a day. They were having their May sale and their Black Friday sale. And what they served for the 3 days of the sale in each case was mimosas. It was champagne. And, when I'm talking to the employees, they did, when they got to thinking about it, they said, it seemed like the same person came back several times during the day. And I said, well, yeah, right. Even though it seems somewhat innocuous to be serving somebody champagne and orange juice, you just don't want to take the chance. It's not worth it. You never know. Maybe people they'll get naked in your salon outside of the tanning booths. I don't know. Of course, inconsistent day-to-day employee management decisions, terminations handled poorly. Oh, boy. Terminations that are handled poorly, by the way, are usually the ones that are handled very brutally. And sexual harassment, and talk about an industry that's ripe for sexual harassment. particularly what we call third-party sexual harassment, which is customers or vendors. And man, you've got to deal with that because that's just something you can't let sit there. Incomplete company human resource documentation setup. Brad, do you have a handbook for your business?
I have a handbook, training book, policy manual. I have about 4 different books. One just more like a policy guideline rules book. That's day one. They read that over. Then there is a training, 4-day training book that probably takes anywhere from 4 to 6 days. Then there's an additional book. So there's many books for them to read. They have to be on site too, but they can't take them with them. They can make notes, but the notes can't leave the store. There's certain rules that we do have, but there's so much that they could read over and understand what the brand and what Pacific Tanning's about and what we expect from them.
See, Brad, you're a boring guy. I mean, I can't do business with you. You do everything right.
I learned from you. I learned from you.
Jeez, God, Jerry Springer. I mean, if Jerry Springer is what you're telling me, we'd be off the air in 5 minutes. So, okay, well, that's good stuff. That is very good stuff that you've done progressive on that. And let me just kind of do a quick quick commercial here to people. If you need help being prepared for 2014, 2015, whether it's marketing, HR strategies such as staff planning, performance management procedures, we get involved in a lot of compensation and incentive programs. We can pay great tanning sales folks, improve your recruiting and interviewing practice, who you hire, staff training and selling skills. I mean, this is all the kind of stuff that we do, that we work with. HR is a real specialty of mine. That's what my MBA is in, and that's what I've been doing. I've been managing people for 46 years, which tells you what an old fart I am. Maybe I should get out of it. And, of course, we're asking if you have an employee handbook. So you can schedule a no-cost coaching session with me just by going to my website. Okay, let me just take a quick second here, Brad, and see if we've got questions. David, are you on here? Let me just see if I can...
I am here.
Okay. Okay, you can ask, is there anything? Okay, here. JC asked, is there anything, and I'll see, and I'll have Brad respond to this as well. You can ask, is there anything that would prevent you from working weekends? Anything that would prevent you?
And that came up actually when you were talking about the in the interview, asking about family planning.
Oh, okay.
And so this is an alternative to that, I guess, is what JC's saying?
When you're doing like an interview and I guess asking them can they work weekends, that's just availability. I think that's fine. You just say your hours are open from this day to this day. We're open Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 12 midnight. We only close 4 days out of the year. What's your availability?
Yeah.
And then they either write down the answer, and then you can kind of clarify different time frames and stuff if they have school or other jobs involved.
The way that Brad just said it is perfectly legal. The part where you get in trouble is that, can you work this weekend or do you have to take care of your children? See, that, as ridiculous as that sounds. You can't, that's just something you don't get into. You don't talk about their family. Yeah, you just do it the way that Brad said. What's your availability? And, and JC, if we didn't answer your question, put another, comment in there and we'll try to be more descriptive. Okay, so moving on here. Okay. No cost. Okay, come on, computer. So let's talk about, we talked a little bit about leadership before. I wanted to get this in. There are 2 kinds of leadership that we've seen in this business, very much so. Bosses who use their power, and remember, boss spelled backwards is double S-O-B. Just wanted to throw that in there because I had the disgusting displeasure of working with a couple double S-O-Bs, and those that lead from inspiration. And people, employees that work for you that are truly inspired are going to go above and beyond. And you can be a boss if you want to be. You can absolutely be a tyrant, but it just doesn't doesn't really help you in the long run. All right, so let's talk a little bit about EFT sales and retention, keeping customers committed and your bills paid year-round. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could do that? So we're going to do a quick EFT review. For marketing purposes, and this is something that I tell people all the time, keep in mind that what you're doing on your marketing is you're really going after that level 1 UV tanner, because the sophisticated, the higher level tanner usually knows what they want. They know the equipment, and it's not that you don't want to run a special for them, but they're a small part of the universe. Tanning has become, unfortunately, somewhat of a commodity, and so the price gets kicked around like a football. And particularly when you enter the peak season, you want to have a price out there that looks really attractive to that seasonal tanner and brings them in. And then, of course, after that, you're trying to go for the upsell. So you've got to come out with a wow price, because you've got too many people out there that you're competing with. I mean, 9, 10 years ago, we could charge whatever we wanted to as far as an enrollment fee. We could charge a lot more than what we're charging today for tanning. But today, with all the competition that you have, and it's not just in tanning, but in the indulgence services that consumers use, it's just not, you got to make sure that you're out there with something that'll draw people in, particularly with your advertising. Just out of curiosity, Brad, when you run a price leader, let's call it, what do you do that gets people in the door?
I actually just looked and did some research on some, larger salons and, more corporate, and looking at how they market and advertising, because that's almost everything. As the second they walk in the door, it's the moment of how to represent the brand of the company in the pitch. But beforehand, how to get them in, I have a poster that I put all over my social media. That is a nice image of either a male or female, good, bright colors, and my level 1 EFT, $17.77, and it works phenomenally. I've done an ad years ago through radio, and I did an ad through a local paper, $400 for the year unlimited. I got 2 hits.
Yeah.
In like 2 years. Yeah. I did the 1777. I have over 300 hits in 2 months. So yeah, it's a big difference.
It is a big difference. And here's the thing, and Brad, this is like critical, because what you're saying, I used to be a divisional manager. I was director of marketing and operations for a large division for a little company called Target. And one of the things that they taught me is that you can't look at your margin dollars on your full price, because you're not taking that to the bank. The margin that you take is or I should say it's margin percentage you can't take to the bank. You take margin dollars, but that only occurs when you sell something. And you're much better off to bring in a garbage load of people that you may think, that some people on this call may think are bottom feeders because they're just there for the cheap price. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let everybody on this call have all the level 5 tanners that are spending $99 a month. You can have them all. Give me all the bottom feeders and give me the opportunity to upsell them. And yes, there's going to be a big percentage of them that are going to leave me and go to the competitor because maybe there's a cheaper price. But if my staff is worth anything at all, and we can bond with these people and create an experience, which it's a shame that David McFarland's not on, because he talks about the experience. But if we could create that experience, we can retain people and we can make a fistful of money. Because, when you go into August, you need EFTs to pay that AC bill. So I like your $17.99. I mean, that's a real aggressive price. Okay, so let's on EFTs here. So you've got a wild price. Now, sign-up fees is kind of an interesting subject. Of course, there was a time, like I said, 9-10 years ago, everybody had sign-up fees. Sign-up fees is becoming kind of the brontosaurus, particularly in a lot of markets of the tanning industry, because the competition, big corporate chains, are offering no sign-up fee. Not in all markets, but in a lot of markets. So, Brad, I'm going to put this to you, because I can't say to people you shouldn't charge a sign-up fee, but one thing I know, just with a chain up in Michigan, we took away the sign-up fee. We went from selling only a handful of EFTs in a given month to selling a garbage load because just that $20 sign-up fee seemed to be an insurmountable objection. At least I think the employees thought it was, and if an employee thinks that what you've got for a sign-up fee is an insurmountable objection, they're not going to try. And so what I tell people, okay, so you push to get that $20. What does that mean to you? Let's take your $17.99, Brad. Wouldn't you be better off taking the gamble of not having the sign-up fee? Or you could say, okay, for the month of May only, or for the month of June only, you can come in to Pacific Tanning and we'll take out the sign-up fee, or you could even use it as a closer at the counter if you wanted to, of taking it away. But you'd be better off to sign up everyone you can, and if the industry average of EFT longevity is around 8 months, 8 months at $18, you're taking in probably about $150. That kind of takes away the sting of losing your sign-up fee. Now, that's my opinion. So now I want to hear yours, Brad, and I promise I'm going to shut up.
We had 2 sets of sign-up fees. We had a 6 months for like $59, and then we had a year. We call it a year membership sign-up fee, but you don't have to stay with us for a year. It's only a 3-month minimum commitment, which we're still kind of fluctuating a little bit and talking about minimizing all that. But right now, everyone's signing up. Sign-up fee $29.99. They're with us for 3 months minimum. After that, they could upgrade, downgrade. They could freeze. They could still tan during their freeze, $10 tans. But during that 3 months or the longevity, we're actually upselling everybody, whether it's a lotion, an extra upsell on a upgraded bed, or a level. So I don't even look at the even monthly fee, $17.77. It's not even that. It's the 2 of the lotion sales and the 2 upgrades involved that are making, the substantial amount of money. Doing that, weekly, monthly, and so on for all the clients. Right now we have sign-up fees.
Your employees,
I may get rid of them, or may do a month special. But I did do an email of $15 off with sign-up. With the sign-up fee or the value of a sign-up fee, which is $29.99. So I had everybody come in and they got $15 off, and that worked awesome. That worked great.
Wonderful. Well, okay, so in some markets, we have markets where the sign-up fee is still a very healthy component of the sale. But boy, I don't know. I'm just saying, it seems like there's more and more markets where competition is making it harder and harder to offer that sign-up. And it might just be also that you could have a difference in the quality of the salesperson. I mean, you may have some salespeople that are so good they could sell anything like that. Because
I've like what you said too. There's a lot of other industries out there. You go to a gym, there's a sign-up fee. You go to a doctor, there's a copay. You go to anywhere, there's something always extra to be spent on any type of service. We're in the vanity industry, and there's always usually that extra buck that's got to be spent. And
yep.
When we're included in that, but at the same time, we're also competitive in it. There's a salon up the road. They charge $100 sign-up fee.
Well, see, that's different then. Okay. Yeah, and you're actually, the market you're in New York. You're in a market where probably average household income is higher. And so I think maybe, and I see that the sign-up fees are still healthy in Los Angeles. We have clients in Los Angeles and Seattle and San Francisco. When I'm thinking of is probably more the secondary markets, smaller towns, smaller cities.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and
I also bring to example, I'm paying $30 per square foot on my store. These other companies, that are in other places, they're spending $7 a square foot. So
$30 a square foot, boy. For you on this, can you imagine paying $30 a square foot in Terre Haute, Indiana? That would be tough. Okay. Of course, the question is, what do your competitors do? Now, a pause or a freeze strategy, and here's what's important with pause or freeze, is that you want people to still be able to tan. You say, well, how do you do that? Well, you collect a pause or freeze fee, and maybe it's $5, and you can tell them they can still tan, but they're going to be tanning at the single session rate. And so even if you got them in 2 or 3 times during August and they paid, let's say it's $10 or whatever, you might even be money ahead, I don't know. But the important thing about the freeze or pause strategy is that people still feel they're part of their active membership. And that's really critical. It's a lot easier to get them back on full EFT status come into the late fall, into the holiday season, or into January if they feel they're still part of membership of your salon. I assume, Brad, that you have a pause or freeze strategy.
Yeah, I have a freeze, and we charge $10 a session, any bed, anytime during that month of the freeze. And then also when they're done with their freeze, if they freeze it, just say 3 months, that's $15. We give that $15 back on a gift card they can use towards any purchase.
And that's the best way to do it. Do it exactly the way Brad just said it. Is you take those freeze fees, you add them up, and you give them back as credit, because it's the lifetime value of that customer is a hell of a lot more important than that $15, and that might just be the difference. Okay, and of course, 2 to 3 free upgrades. Now, when we do a sell an EFT package, I love to give 2 or 3 free upgrades in the first 2 weeks of a new EFT member, because it's always more difficult to go down than it is to go up. And they buy a level 1 at $17.99 at Pacific Tan, but you give them a couple free upgrades, which is kind of a selling feature of closing them on that. And then they go and they experience 2 or 3 of these in the first 2 weeks. Well, suddenly they don't want to tan in that level 1 bed anymore, and that gives you the great opportunity to upsell them. You don't want to concentrate on selling upgrades, but on selling upgraded levels. Do you know that the average member draw level on an EFT is around a 2+ in our business? So what I'm saying there, Brad, is that let's say that you have 5 levels of tanning. For the hundreds of salons that we deal with, I'm going to say that the average draw, the average individual members draw per month is somewhere around a level 2+, 2 to 2.5.
It is a level 2, yes.
A level 2. There you go. Okay.
Yep.
But see what that says, like when I work with a client and I see that 80% of their EFTs are level 1, I say, man, you've got some real potential here. You just have to have staff that believe in the differentiation between a level 1 and level 2 bed and the benefits and bells and whistles, and get them to start selling. Because when I see somebody that has an average draw, say of a level 1, 1.5, somebody's not doing enough selling. 2.5 is good. 3 is wonderful. But then on the other hand, I got to tell you, I've seen salons, Brad, where I had one out in Los Angeles where their average level was a 4. People were spending a lot of money, but when you looked at their customer count, their unique customer count was very low, and it's because if you read Yelp or Googled or anything like that, you found out that people thought the place was too damn expensive. So we start getting into some more inexpensive packages at level 1 and 2, and it made a big difference. The per customer average over the year went down, but his revenues went up dramatically because he had a lot more customers that were actually spending money. So it's this is the kind of stuff that I've got my head in these analysis every day. Okay, so let's talk about pumping up your consultants to drive EFT membership signups, consultants and senior management agreement on proper levels of EFT pricing and terms. Here's what I'm saying about that, and I have a feeling, Brad, this describes you. You can, if you want, when you're the owner like Brad is, you can take what we call the EFT pricing and terms dartboard, and you can put up on the wall and you can throw darts at it and say, oh, okay, next month our level 3 is going to be $99 plus your first male born. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but if you want salespeople to sign off on it and be part of it, get them involved in an agreement on what they think is the proper levels of EFT pricing and terms. Now, if it's ridiculously low, then you're the owner and you have to draw the line on that. But any time that you can get employees involved, it's called participative management, and it makes a huge difference. And also agree on an ad price. What do you think? I ask employees all the time. So what do you think would be a wow price that'll shake people up and get their fannies in here? because I'm sure all of you on this call, and you as well, Brad, our industry is changing. It's shifting. We probably all know that the first 4 months of this year, I think the best way to characterize it, in many ways it sucked. This was not a good first 4 months. Anything from the Mississippi east all the way down to the south, all the way up to the northeast. And I hope you had a good 4 months, Brad, but for a lot of people, it was not good. The weather was just horrific, and then it was crazy. I hope you had a good 4 months, Brad, but there's a lot of companies out there that were suffering from the weather. But you got to get people in the door. You're going to have something that gets their attention. And so I get employees talking about that at your meetings. I like using graduating incentives for EFT sales on all levels. Do I still pay incentives for month packages? See, here's the thing. Salon chain out west or out northwest was paying incentives for monthly packages that actually the employee could make more money selling the monthly packages than they could their EFTs. And the obvious answer is I wouldn't do that. Where they should be getting paid good incentives is selling EFTs and maybe more incentives on a higher EFT level. How do you handle that, Brad? Do you pay an incentive across the board, the same thing for every EFT sold, or do you pay them if they sell a level 4 EFT? Do you pay them more for doing that?
I have a commission basis on lotions, or I should say product, because we carry more. We carry eyewear and swimsuits, so they have a product commission percentage. They have a service commission percentage, which is all your packages, and then they have an EFT. They get all three. This is after 90 days unless they take a certification course, which you pay for, which most of them do, and they also get a raise after that certification. The EFT, as of right now, they're getting paid. They have to sell 5. Any level, doesn't matter. It could be 5 level 1s, 5 level 5s, but they have to sell 5, and on the 5th one is when they earn their commission at any levels. And then as you go up your 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 10 to 15 to 20, they make some good money. I'll tell you that. I had an employee last month that if you take her commission and divide it by how many hours she worked, she gave herself a $4.80 raise that month alone. So she made almost $14 an hour.
Ladies,
an hour and change.
Ladies and gentlemen on this call, I'd like to announce that further, going forward, Mr. Brad Blair will be conducting these webinars. He obviously knows what the hell he's doing. This is good. No, that's great. That is, you're doing it. You're doing exactly the way I would do it. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so in this business, obviously, we're trying to concentrate all of sales efforts as we can on the top line revenues. I mean, top line in this business, and you've heard me in these past webinars, top line revenues is the most important thing. Instead of spending many, many hours of your time trying to figure out how you can discount another $50 a week on payroll, instead of spending more time on your marketing, getting people in the door, that's what you should be doing, because top line revenues is where it's at. Take advantage of what's left of June by promoting EFTs now by Facebook and email. And it might be a tough time of the year to promote it, but I'm not sure that you could promote EFTs much after June. Radio, if you have the budget, and I'm going to ask Brad to comment on radio here in just a second. Track your EFT sales results via your EFT close ratio, which we talked about earlier. And also track your EFT cancels. I like to take a look at that too, because that maybe tells me which employee maybe needs more training on how to get people to at least go to a pause or a freeze basis instead of just canceling. Okay, now I want to move on here because we're running out of time. And okay, make it easy for customers. Here's something that I've suggested. I've had a lot of feedback from this. I don't know, Brad, if you use something like this, but I've gotten many, many, many retailers, owners and managers that have been on the calls that have gotten back to me and said, John, this works fantastic. What it is, when somebody comes up to the counter, you take it after you've talked about, you've gotten a rapport built with this person, and they're ready now to buy. then the best thing you can do is show them the value of EFTs. And this graph here says it all. You put this down in front of them saying, okay, you like that level 2 bed that I showed you? Okay, fine. Single session on that is $15. Now, everything breaks down on a per session basis. Okay, you want to buy a 10-session package? Well, on a per session cost, then it's $4.99, which is a lot cheaper than the $15. Now, on a 30-day unlimited, assuming 12 visits, if you want to make an assumption of 15, it's make it even cheaper. But on 12 visits or 3 a week, your per session cost drops to only $3.33. Now, if you get an EFT, because the price of the EFT goes down, your cost per session is only $2.50. And so the best selling is when a customer does the buying. And I love this kind of a grid because the customer looks at it and you want to get them to the duh factor. They want to lay a real high pressure bed, a level 4, and instead of paying $25 for a single session, which they typically wouldn't buy a single session, but they look at it and say, well, geez, why wouldn't I do an EFT? It's only $4.16 per session. So, Brett, I don't know if you've ever tried this.
I took this exact slide. I took a picture of it, and I actually sat at the computer and finished it within 45 minutes on Excel, all colorized. And now my next step is now to actually incorporate the visual in the background with the 1777 in it. And I got to say it works. It's just a phenomenal tool that once you have pitched and explained your packages and your services, the company, you just kind of leave that out and just say, look, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
And let them just choose. It's very simple.
Well, the key, and you used the word simple a couple times, the key to this, people that are on this call, is we not only have to make it simple for the consumer, but we need to make it simple for the salesperson too. Because, and I'm not trying to denigrate the reputations of the people that we have behind the counter. I'm not talking about that at all. Sales, whether you're selling cars, televisions, tanning sessions, or houses, if a salesperson perceives that this is an easy sale, that this is an easy presentation, because remember, what are we facing when we talk about an EFT? The most difficult thing is not the bed, it's not the price. The most difficult thing is getting that customer to trust us with their bank account, their credit card, their debit card. That's the most important and most difficult sale of an EFT. Now, once you sell that and you get them on an EFT, the next sale or an upgrade is considerably easier. So, showing them this graph makes it a lot easier to get them to commit to the great value of EFTs and eventually giving you that credit card information. So yeah, this thing works great. This was just a thing that we threw together, and I'm sure, Brad, yours looks wonderful because we didn't spend a lot of time, making it look real pretty. Okay, powering up your promotions, which, Brad, I want to have you jump in here. But basic rules of any promotional ads: what is your reach of the media you use? That is real important. Now, the reach means the quality of the reach, the demographics. So you take people that they'll run ads in Clipper magazines or in Valpak or those kinds of things. And it looks like the cost per thousand, the CPM, might be a cheap deal. But again, remember who you're reaching. You might be reaching a lot of people, but they may be way out of your demographics of who you're trying to get to. So keep that in mind, who you're trying to reach and what are with that particular media. Now, here's another thing, too. Remember, if the media gets folks in the door, it's done its job. And here's what I'll say. People have come to me and they've said, well, look, we did this radio promotion and we got a lot of people to participate, but we hardly sold anything. Or we went on Groupon, and that Groupon went out to 250,000 people in the 3-county market, and we sold a lot of Groupon packages, but we didn't sell any upgrades or didn't get them to buy up from there. The important thing is that when media gets people in the door or it gets you action, gets you interaction, maybe it's just the likes or the interaction on Facebook, if the media does that, it's done its job. What media is supposed to do is to get people lathered up. You and your staff have to shave them. So Groupon can only do the job of creating some customer base. Radio, the same thing. I I'll have people say to me, well, you know, geez, this thing has gotten a lot of contest entries, but when these people come in, we don't seem to sell them much. Well, don't blame radio for that. I mean, you've got to take over. And I'm saying this specifically because I've got a guy on here today as a panelist that I gave some help to some time back, but frankly, he took the ball and ran with it and made radio incredibly successful for him. And Brad, I'm going to get to that in just one quick second here, but let me go through a couple more things here, and then I'm going to come back to you on radio. And of course, as important as frequency, how often do your customers see your brand? Brad was talking about brand earlier, that your brand should be in their face as often as possible. How compelling is your offer? Remember, it says 174 others. That's the average. Advertising Age Trade Magazine says that the average American consumer sees 174 advertisements a day. We don't even realize it. You're out driving, you're eating dinner, you're on the internet, you're on television, 174. So how compelling is your offer to get their attention? Is your message for branding or for traffic building? Sometimes branding is very important, and it is very important, and sometimes it's traffic building. So you're putting down some kind of a ridiculous price or a great bundle at a ridiculous price to get people in. And then, of course, what's your success expectation definition? If you put an ad in a Clipper magazine and that goes to 25,000 households and you think you're going to get 400 people to come in, your expectations are way too high. Direct mail, one of the most successful retailers I know, Brian Hibbert down in South Beach, down in South Florida, put out a 25,000-piece direct mail and got in 42 people to come in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's a smart guy. Go ahead, Brad.
When we did the radio, that was phenomenal. I've done, you know, the media, the direct mail, and we shied away from direct mail a little bit just because our demographic seems to be more either phones or internet, and as well as radio.
Yeah, it's radio's got to be. Well, let me, Brad, not to interrupt you, but let me just go through a couple.
Yeah.
Well, here, get to this radio. Okay, and basic rules of any radio promotional ads is you should promote on a female demo format such as country, hot, adult contemporary, or CHR, which is contemporary hit radio, which back in my days, my old fart days, we used to call top 40 radio. You want to avoid AM talk because whether you agree or disagree with Rush Limbaugh, he's not going to sell you a lot of tanning. AOR is album-oriented radio or male-dominated stations. You want to stay away from those. So you want to go with these that have the big female, I don't mean big females, but I mean have big female numbers, I should say. And plan on investing in a seasonal approach, such as February through May, at a minimum. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money in July and August, and I don't think, Brad, you did either. But during the peak season, boy, that's the time to do it. And ironically, by the way, January, February, March of most radio stations is when they have the most radio inventory, and they're most susceptible to deals on pricing and promotions. And I'm going to have Brad talk about his promotion in just a minute here. So you want to plan your purchase spots for a 10 to 3 or 4 to 7 spots during the day if you can. Sometimes they'll sell you a rotator, which starts at 10 and goes through 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. And mostly Monday through Friday. If you're going to advertise radio on a Saturday, I wouldn't go past midday because people are out doing things and they're just, radio audience goes down pretty dramatically. Use the advantage of tanning packages for station giveaways, and I'll have Brad cover that in just a minute here. Tie in with station website traffic. Stations, a lot of radio stations have one hell of a lot of website traffic, and if you can do a promotion that gets involved with that and their email blast, really, really good, real powerful. And if you're new to radio, and a lot of folks are, I've been doing radio for 44 years. I would suggest, there's a lot of things you don't necessarily have to come to me on, but I would consult a professional because radio, it can be a very tricky medium, and I've been doing this for a long time. I'm probably the only one in the tanning industry that really knows radio the way they should after 44 years. And as you can see, we've been nominated many times for a Mercury Award, which is the radio industry award for excellence for copy development and creativity, because we're just wonderful people. Anyway, let me go back to radio. Brad, share with them what you did with your radio promotion.
Well, first, it was your radio promotion because you're the man that was behind all of it, and I got to say thank you very much for it because it definitely was a pleasure with that.
You're the one that executed it, though.
I know, but with your help, it wouldn't have happened. After contacting with John and going over the radio, I've done many radios in the past, just basically 60-second ads, spending $500 a week, and they would work well. And this is going back. I've been in business 15 years, but going back 10 years. Radio, I think, probably was a little bit bigger, and now with the step that John took was more of an interaction with the audience to get them to actually take action to the radio website, then direct them to the tanning website, my website, and then get them to engage to come to the store. So a couple-step process, but it was a phenomenal deal that we linked with our radio station that would give away a free week of tanning to everybody that registered for a specific winner to win a year. So on the radio website would be a page with our link. They click it, they would fill out this form that the audience would receive a free week and a chance to win a free year at Pacific Tanning. After going 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I locked in a deal with them for 4 months that my link was on their radio, and consistently the public is getting emails from the radio and from my email database to go to the radio site, fill out the form, get a free week regardless, and for a chance to win a free year. What was that?
Talk about branding. You were getting branding all over the place.
Yeah, and then after I'm going to say probably 3 or 4 weeks, the first month we got to about maybe 300 to 400. And then after the 3rd and 4th month, we're over 1,000, registries. So everybody all those 1,000 people that registered received a voucher, would bring into my tanning salon, receive a free week of tanning level 1 and 2 beds, have the week free, no problem, and a chance to win it for a year. During that week, they had the ability to purchase an additional week for $20 in any bed. We upgraded over 600 and something.
Yeah, Brad, I got to stop. I got to stop you there. Back when I went back and we were talking about how media can create, can create the action, can create the traffic, and you have to shave them. When you called me after that first month or so, and you told me that, I said, my God, that is the way to do it. I mean, that is a perfect model. What you did, and I didn't give you that. I didn't give you that.
I know. But you said everything. You helped set everything up. You definitely took an idea, and I've only saw the idea through your webinar, and that was where I kind of engaged from it. And I said, I called you right away, right after it, and we linked up, had a good talk, and it worked. And after getting a bill from, say, my radio station and saying, okay, this is what the bill's going to be, I actually end up paying half of the bill with gift cards, which was kind of cool. And then they took those gift cards and shouted out my tanning salon to all these potential winners to win an additional, I think it was a WMC event in Miami. So I was linked with Miami events. I had people from Florida that actually knew about it. It was pretty neat. It worked well.
And here's the other thing you've done, my friend. You've created a reputation with that radio station group because of the success of the promotion. The guy that is or lady that's the program director of that station, she or he doesn't give a rip about the station's sales, not at all. They care about audience maintenance, and they do promotions that that hit their demographic. And you are on a demographic that's a heavily female-dominated station, and you came up with a promotion that was highly successful. Believe me, if you don't bring it up to them this next fall, they're going to bring it up to you. They're going to want to do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
You hit right in the heart of who they are. And the fact that you got most of these things upsold, and that's what I tell people, don't blame Groupon, don't blame radio, don't blame any of this stuff that gets people into your store and you don't sell them. I want to, Brad, I want to give you an example of what you did. A retailer in another market up in Minnesota, who has a couple of salons up there, we did a smaller market than yours, and he had 150 people that came in, 152 I think it was.
And for radio?
Off a radio promotion, just what you did. He had 150 152 people that came in. And do you know what his total upsell was? Out of the 152 people, they sold just under $300. I mean, that's like $2 a person. If you look at what you did, that's the way it should be done. And the reason is because the people he had working at the counter were incredibly lame with a capital L. And I've been trying to show them that. We did secret shoppers to tell them, buddy, you got to move on. Your staff they suck big time. And so I don't know if he's ever done it now or not, but your staff was ready for it. You had a pitch for them as the upsell, and that's fantastic. Brad, let me stop because there's a couple of questions here. Penny and JC have got questions. Okay, Penny asks, John, are you happily married? No, come on. No, she's not. Okay. Penny says, do you recommend early cancellation fees? And I'm going to put this question to you, Brad. Do you recommend early cancellation fees? And what is the average price for a sign-up fee? Okay, this is one. Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll start over. Do you recommend early cancellation fees? In other words, if they cancel early, if you're signing up for a 6-month or a 12-month package and they cancel early, do you recommend charging them a cancellation fee? And then what is the average price for I think I should ask you the question, Brad. Do you recommend early cancellation fees? And then
yeah, I mean, cancellation fees, we have a cancellation fee, $50 if they decide to cancel before the 3-month commitment that we have. I will say we've never charged the $50. We never had to. Just because the price of the package overweighs, first of all, the cancellation. And we also offer, after you're in it for 4 months, we give you back bonus bucks that keeps them in there, and then every 8 months and every year. We have a few that do cancel after 3 months. You're going to have those, but as long as you keep their contact information, email address. I think the email address and cell phone number is probably more important than their actual home address. That is like gold. That is like gold to me, their email and phone number.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather have, who cares about their home address unless you thought direct mail is going to do you something. The question Penny's also asking, what is the average price for a sign-up fee? Well, Penny, one thing about our industry, as I've said many times, if you've been on past webinars, it's like having your head in the oven and your butt in the freezer. What does average really mean? In this case, I would say I've seen sign-up fees anywhere from $10 to $50. They're kind of all over the board, and a lot of it depends upon the market. In the big major metro markets, such as where Brad is at, it's a different story than if you're in Ottumwa, Iowa. That's not picking on Iowa. I lived in Iowa.
Yeah, we also have, one of our sign-up fees that we have. It's $29.99 still for the year, but if you sign up for a VIP EFT section, we have 5 levels just tanning VIP, and 5 levels of just tanning, and then we have also 5 levels of VIP. But if you sign up for any VIP, we give you $15 back on a gift card.
Okay, and then let me ask you this, Brad. Let me ask you, this is what JC asks. JC says, how do you handle clients who sign up for an EFT membership, then after their first month of tanning, they cancel their credit cards before meeting their contract terms? So how do you handle that, Brad?
Well, you have 2 different types of people. Usually there's some that you're just going to lose, and it just happens. You just got to kind of bite it and just say, there's nothing to do. Obviously, you can take the steps, which we do in everybody, either try to email, call, text, or contact. I have a form that we have to have them fill out to cancel. And then, or they have to email us to let us know they have to cancel 10 days before the billing. This way it gives me that 10 days to conversate with them and maybe give them an extra tan or an upgrade to try to keep them. If they really, you got some that either, a big thing is getting pregnant or moving, or the summer. Now I'm hearing the summer, or now the gym has tanning. I always keep the door open for them that if they want to, we'll cancel their account if they fully want to cancel, but the door is open. If they wanted to come back within the 2 months, I'll waive the sign-up fee. And then that gives them time to maybe think about it and come back. And a lot of the gym people we get back.
Okay, good. All right. That's JC, if that answers your question, that's wonderful. Okay. So let's move on here because we're way past time here, and I know people got to get moving here. Let's talk about email. Basic rules of any email promotional ads. Email should usually be consistent in timing. I say usually, there's always exceptions to that, but they should be consistent in timing. Your recipients of those emails should almost be expecting when your email is coming. Frequency of emails, of course, depends entirely on content. People will say to me, how often should I send out an email? And I'll say, well, how often can you send something that has substantial content, a wow factor, something that's really amazing for the person to see? Because if it's the same old crap, don't do it. Emails don't always have to be pretty as long as they have wow-type offers. You know, a lot of people in this industry get hung up on the fact, well, we've got to have a professionally looking email, and it really has to look like something Coca-Cola would send out. Not necessarily. If it's something that's a really good offer and it's got real short but sweet content on it, that can be very effective. The subject line is critical for higher open rates. We work with our clients on subject lines all the time because it makes a big difference. Because remember, people are getting emails all the time. That subject line is the first thing that has to get their attention. We would offer a reward for new email opt-ins and for retention as well. So it might be, if you want to get your emails going, you can't just put on your website, here's our email sign-in. And we develop a lot of websites. David, our propeller head here, he does a lot of work with people on their websites. And we always insist that you have an email sign-up on that website, but it gives someone a couple free tans. Maybe it's a free tan and a free upgrade, because getting people to opt in that email is huge. It's very, very important. We consider, as a company, the Power Group, we consider our email list that we contact you folks with as being one of the most valuable assets of our company, because it's cheap contact, and so we make sure that we're not just sending out anything. Matter of fact, over the last 15 months, I don't think we've ever sent out a single email that wasn't talking about a webinar. Now, we may do something different than that in the future, but whatever it is, it's going to be, the email is going to be something important. Email content should be simple and without too many offers. Had a client this last month that was sending out an email with 9 different offers, and their head was in the right place. They wanted to, give the consumer lots of options, and I congratulate them for that. But 9 offers is like the deer in the headlights. If you got too many offers, people aren't going to see it. And make sure that you use graphics, because they weren't using any graphics in there. Okay, Facebook. Basic rules of any promotional ads. Facebook's own research, Facebook themselves said the 80-20 rule is really the most powerful. 80% of your posts should be non-commercial. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes that we make in the tanning industry, is there's not enough pictures of cats and dogs and employees and employees' babies, and we need to put that stuff on there because it is social media. People want to go on Facebook for social stuff. Why they want you to know they went to the store to get a jar of pickles, I have no idea. But that's just the way it is. And so you can put about 20%, this is according to Facebook, you can put up 20% of your posts can be commercial, but make sure that 80%. Now, you go on Brad's Facebook, Brad, you've got all kinds of great stuff on it.
I know. I've been called a little bit of a robotic machine when it comes to social media because I have a dashboard that controls it, and it's nuts.
Well, let me tell you something else, too, and I hope you're not offended by this, because remember,
not at all.
This is a 67-year-old man saying this, so I'm wild, but I'm harmless, okay? Your lady friend, is that your wife or your girlfriend?
My girlfriend.
She is an absolute knockout.
Thank you.
I mean,
thank you.
That is eye candy. If I had a girlfriend like that, she'd be all over my Facebook. I can tell you that. Holy cow, she's a very attractive lady, and you guys make a very good couple. I mean, I know the last couple of weeks, knowing that you were going to be on this, I was looking at your Facebook, and I was looking at and it's kind of neat because you're looking at your pictures, and you guys you're having dinner someplace, or you're walking in the snow, and it's not all. I mean, it made me interested in you two as a couple, as opposed to just your business, and that's
right.
What people
that's one thing I try to do with a lot of my, I'm I'm big on like inspiring people, but besides that, I'm allowing my clientele, my guests, as well as the tanning world, to be involved in my life in a way, and I love it. It's fun.
I tell you, you do a great job with that. I mean, you kept me on your Facebook. I must have kept on your Facebook for, I'll bet you 20 minutes looking at all your pictures. And frankly, lusting after your girlfriend. No,
I'll let her know for sure, definitely.
Okay. Key element is to personally connect with visitors, and boy, you do that, Brad. Now, what I like is assign a staff member, and because daily interactions are best, I like a staff member that you give them the responsibility of Facebook. In your case, Brad, you're so into it, but in most salons, you're better off to take somebody that is a Facebook freak and maybe pay them a couple extra bucks a month to be your Facebook freak, and you give them goals of so many likes and so much interaction, just because most owners don't have the time to do it. Promote likes with photos and contests. Oh my gosh, every year with our clients we do the dog days of summer, and where we have a contest where is your dog the cutest, and the people vote on it, and we get some of the most wonderful dog pictures, but the reaction from that is just nuts. Has nothing to do with selling tanning. Avoid politics, that's obvious. You don't want to get into that. Be supportive of community events and causes. Facebook posts and responses must be handled with maturity and a sense of urgency. Now, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to skip forward because, sometimes you just don't know how long this is all going to go. And
the one thing I leave off on Facebook, tanning salons have to stop posting about any negative stuff about tanning or Jersey mom.
Oh yeah,
that just puts an eye right on us. It's silly.
It is. I could not agree with you more. We have to get past that stuff because that's just nuts. So let me. I'm going to end here with a quick commercial, but I want to come back to. I think we've got some more questions, but just a quick commercial, just to brag a little bit. 500 salons and counting. That's how many I've worked with marketing, all the stuff we're talking about, HR strategies, compensation and incentive programs. Let me get this thing out of the way here. Paying for. We want to pay for great canning sales folks. Like Arby's? No. We can pay great canning sales folks. John, I think you're going senile. I don't know what that meant. Forget I said that there, okay? Anyway, moving on. So 500 salons, and we can improve your recruiting and interviewing practices. Who you hire is ridiculously critical. Sales training on selling skills and pitches. Selling tanning should not be difficult. Analysis of your revenue stream. People, I look at probably between 30 and 40 salons a week analyzing their revenue streams, and there's a lot of money to be made in those numbers. Staff evaluations. Are these really the folks I trust to sell for me? Leadership assessments. Every client I work with, I do a leadership assessment on that manager, or if it's a chain, on their district manager, their GM. In 2 weeks, I'm going down to North Carolina to do that with some stores down there. Nothing can offset poor leadership. If you don't have an employee handbook, or it's not up to date, get over to me and schedule a no-cost counseling session. Okay, so let's just move past. And if you haven't gotten the package and you want a package with 25 questions to use in salon, actually I lied. It's 42 questions. Mr. Shopping Form, new employee training checklist, in-salon recruiting flyer, salon employees meeting agenda, salon employee quick appraisal guide, blah, blah, blah. If you want that stuff, just come to johnrfar.com. And let's go. I think we have a couple of questions here. No, I think we answered that one. Okay, if you folks have any questions you want to throw in, I know this has been a very, very long webinar, and I apologize that it's gone so long, but having somebody like Brad on, it seems to make my long-windedness even worse. So he inspires me. What can I tell you? Brad, anything, comments you'd like to make? By the way, that was a really good one, the last one you made about let's not put anything more on Facebook about the tanning industry issues or
Anything negative. You go to my page, there's nothing negative. Obviously life comes up and things happen, but you representing your company and your business and stuff, it's just, you can't do it. Or it shouldn't be done, Many do it, but I can't focus on that. I got no time for negativity.
Well, here's what I'd like to suggest to everybody. We have as we close the webinar down, we have a poll, a survey we'd like you to fill out. And we really, really need your feedback. I have a feeling, Brad, the feedback on you is going to be very positive. You've done an excellent job here today, Brad, because you really know what you're doing, and I think everybody will agree with me. I'd love to have you back again, as long as you can.
Yeah, I'm still learning from you, so I appreciate it.
I've learned a lot from you too as well. So, people, thank you for being on the webinar today, and please, as David, are you there? And he is maybe David.
I am here. Yeah.
Okay. So again, if you'll just instruct people or help us inspire them to fill out the survey, and remember the webinar and the last webinar of the season is going to be the 25th of June. So David, I'll let you sign off, and Brad, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, David, go ahead.
Yeah, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. As soon as we exit the webinar software here, the survey should pop up automatically. We'd really value your input and your feedback, so please take a minute or two to go ahead and fill out that quick survey and let us know what you thought, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for joining us.
Have a good one, people. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.